Well, hello, and welcome to the PMQ live update for today, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. It is National Star Wars Day, so my friend wants to say hello. Hello. All right. Now that that's out of the way, I am here. I am here with Francesco.
Hey, how are you, Brian?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I can't complain. Thank you for having me on your show.
Absolutely. We've been talking with a lot of operators in the pizza industry, and I kind of wanted to get the perspective from a manufacturer and distributor. I know this is hitting everybody in the industry hard right now, the situation. So why don't you just go ahead, for people who don't know you, kind of explain who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name is Francesco Marra. I am the co-founder and CEO of Marra Forni. We are an American manufacturer of brick ovens located in Beltsville, Maryland, just 2 miles outside of DC. We also have a second facility 20 miles north towards Baltimore, close to the airport in Elk Ridge. We have about 50 employees, and when we are super busy, about 10 people part-time. So we have a workforce of about 60 people. We ship all over the world, exactly 23 countries, 5 continents. We have 4 business developers in the United States, 1 in Mexico that covers Central America, and another one in Milan that covers North Europe and Middle East.
Okay, so you are an American manufacturer, so you do made in America. Everything's made in America here. You provide these brick ovens to everybody.
My blood is Italian, but I am an American manufacturer. Actually, I came here when I was 22 with my family. And so now I live more time in the United States. So I am an Italian-American, proud of being an American citizen and having the dual citizenship, being also still Italian.
Awesome. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. I wouldn't even say best of both worlds. You have a perspective on each side. But what I really want to kind of talk to you today about is how this is kind of hitting the manufacturers and maybe some of the cost translations to the consumer. I mean, you're selling ovens to pizzeria operators. Obviously, that's probably slowed down a little bit since, a lot of people aren't opening. But I mean, why don't you kind of tell me when this first hit, what was the first adaptation you had to make as a distributor, manufacturer?
Well, since we have we're a global company now, we started to see a major slowdown about the end of January, beginning of February. Just some, small sign that something was changing. Mm-hmm. But we really got hit hard in March and April. We've seen numbers going down from, our January, February, typically they're a little bit slower months. We were hoping for March to be a very, very strong and solid month. But we saw in March a reduction of revenue of about, I would say, 50 to 60%.
Okay. Do you think?
April.
Do you think that's average? I'm sorry, buddy. I'm saying, do you think that's average for like a lot of distributors, or not even just like oven people, but just people? Do you think a lot of the manufacturing distributing side was hit with that loss of revenue?
Absolutely. As the restaurants started to close down and the pandemic started to take over in the United States, we saw a lot of the business close down and a lot of the state, closing down. And consequently, we saw a loss of revenue, change of orders, and also loss of new orders. We also had a lot of customers asking us to wait for shipping. So we have a lot of orders to ship. I think we have 70, 80 orders to ship in the pending that were work in progress. But because of the crisis, everything is being postponed. We don't recognize the revenue until we ship the product. Therefore, that's why April has probably been one of the worst months, in the last 5 years.
Okay, well, I mean, again, everybody's hit differently. We're all suffering through this, and a lot of people are just struggling to get by. I wanted to say that you mentioned that you had to close for a week after the governor's orders, but it was just a week, but you kept the skeleton crew to fulfill the orders already placed. Was there any pause in production from you guys?
We had some customers. So because we ship, as I said, 90% of our business is in the United States and 10% is export. We still had some customer in Canada wanted to receive their orders. And we still had some customer here in the United States that they were waiting for their order to ship. So we are considered, if you look at our governor mandate, we could be considered as an essential business because we are a food equipment manufacturer, and therefore, my interpretation was, if we have customers that are relying on Marra Forni, we have to respect our lead time, and we got to make sure that we deliver the product to our customer so they can continue their project and hopefully use our equipment to start to generate revenue. So that's a commitment that our company always has. We put our customer first, and we want to make sure that we can continue to deliver their expectation even through these unprecedented times.
Okay, well, I mean, I think we talked a little bit earlier about you see some kind of collateral damage caused to the industry because of this. Some customers are not going to come back due to closing. I mean, that's just customers at the actual operators level. I mean, do you foresee getting new customers after this? Do you think there's going to be an influx of new people trying to open restaurants after this? Or, I mean, just from a manufacturer side?
I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I had a crystal ball. But I can tell you that, we are, if we look at our CRM system, we can see some of the activity, and we can at least predict what the future will hold for Marra Forni. We're going to start to see some improvements probably in June. This month is still going to be transitional. But we're going to start to see some increase of revenue probably towards the end of the month and beginning of June. As I told you before, we have 60 orders to ship, 60 to 70 orders to ship. But because of the virus, everything got stopped. As the states start to reopen, I understand there is about 31 states in line that they're going to open soon. We're going to start to see the revenue come back. The collateral damage one thing that I wanted to add is, we're talking about collateral damage. The trickle-down negative effect of this virus, we're probably going to see in the next months. At least for us, we have to see if all the work, all the pipeline, all the workers, all the orders that we were working on it, we have to see if they're going to convert into a sale again. But I am optimistic.
Okay. Well, and I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at. I like you said the trickle-down effect. I wanted to kind of see maybe how, from a manufacturer side, this is going to hit the consumer, somebody who might want to buy an oven. But I mean, I think you were saying earlier that you think about 10% of these shops are shutting down for good. So let's just say as maybe a cheese manufacturer or a meat plant. I mean, and we're always now, of course, we're seeing the unfortunate probably interruption in the supply chain for like meats and food products like that. But I mean, with 10%, an average or guesstimate of 10% of these guys shutting down for good, I mean, how are you guys as a manufacturer going to target new audience or new customers? How are you just guys going to stay afloat? I mean, what can another distributor manufacturer kind of learn from what you're trying to do right now?
Well, I would say, if your main business was the mom and pop and the restaurant and the small chain, you're probably going to be in trouble for a long time until they think out of the box and they start to find new solutions. And we do have some solution that I like to share with you after. I think we've been with our business we've been very diversified. We have commercial and non-commercial customers. The commercial, it's a big variety. I categorize it between hotels, boutique hotels, the medium-sized restaurant group, the catering, the mobile food truck. And the mom and pop, and then we also go, to the non-commercial, the K-12s, the schools, the colleges, the university, the museums, the stadiums, all the entertainment, and to also retirement home, and to even movie theaters. So, granted that all these businesses have been affected by the virus today, and but I think as I said before, as we continue to slowly reopen and go into different phases, we will eventually start to see order coming again.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think the message there, right there, is diversify if you can. As a manufacturer or distributor, try to put your hands into a bunch of different ponds at that point. Get out there, check different avenues, something you wouldn't have necessarily thought of. Somebody who might need some cheese, somebody who might need some meat, somebody who needs a pizza oven. So diversification, I think, is a great tool that everybody needs to look into on the manufacturer or distributor side. I wanted to ask, it's all American made in America, right there in Beltsville, Maryland. But you do get a lot of import. You have to get imports from Italy or Europe. I mean, how's that affecting anybody who's maybe bringing in other food products and stuff like that? I mean, what have you seen so far?
Well, for our company in particular, we are an American manufacturer. Most of our products are made in USA. We do import some raw material directly from south of Italy, in particular our proprietary brick that we use to manufacture our ovens. They are the essential and the foundation of our dome. And we were lucky in this situation because we forecasted our purchase very aggressively, and therefore we had a lot of inventory in stock. And so we don't find ourselves in a difficult situation because we were anticipating. We always anticipated some of these obstacles. Regarding the specialty equipment that we import from Italy, the two companies that are in south of Italy and two in north of Italy, unfortunately, our hands are going to be a little bit tied there. We have some good inventory for mixers and the pizza prep and the tools, but we're running out of stock of slicers. Now, as you know, Italy has been hit really, really hard, the coronavirus in the last 60 days. And most of the manufacturers have been closed. And therefore, they're going to be well behind, with their manufacturing and with their production. Granted, the orders might be slow, but in order for any manufacturer to get back on their feet is going to be tough, at least for the first 15 to 30 days.
Any kind of tips on relationships or something like that you can make sure that you're at the front of the line to get products that you need?
Yeah, I've been, we've been very, very proactive. I think, one of the priorities that any of us should take in consideration through these crises is to increase the level of communication with your partners and stay in touch with them and make sure that you collaborate with them and you explain the needs and try to come up with a plan that is satisfactory for both. But supply is one of the issues. Logistic is going to be another issue. Logistic is going to be a big problem. As you know, there are different ways to import product in around the world. You can use aircraft, you can use ocean freight, and of course, transportation here in the United States is mostly done through trucking or through railroad. But in particular, aircraft, because the airline were shut down and there was a ban from Europe to United States, the cost of freight, if you were to import something today into United States, it could be about three times higher than what it used to cost you before. So now, for every kilo of weight that an aircraft transports, from one location to another, from Italy and to United States, usually costs you €2.50 per kilo. And in the last 3-4 weeks, I've seen it more like $7 per kilo.
Wow. Okay.
It was, I wouldn't suggest anyone to bring anything, unless it's an emergency. Regarding, the ocean ship, I think the ship, there is USA and Europe, they always had a huge traffic, and the cost should be the cost should be a little bit less because the supply demand is decreasing right now, and therefore not like the airplane where the cost of freight will increase because there was less demand. With the ship, you're going to see a little decrease, maybe 10-15%.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask is you as a manufacturer, importer, are you seeing that increase on that cost there? Is it getting translated over to the consumer, being the pizzeria operators? I mean, what should people expect on the pizzeria side to kind of?
I would say, I can only talk, today for food, for equipment.
Right.
You might see some price increase depending on the company that you're working with, depending on their supply, depending on where they buy the products from, and depending also on the demand. Supply demand is what drives the price typically. If the demand is low, you probably see a lot of vendors trying to discount price items so they can generate some sort of revenue. Now, the currency is also another factor to take in consideration, because the euro currency has also something to do with the price. But dollar has been really, really strong in the last 3-4 years. Our economy was booming. We had 3.6% unemployment, and our GDP was almost 22 trillion. We had almost 150 million people in America working, and we were striving. Today is a little bit different. I think that USA is under a little bit of stress, but so is Europe. And so I think today the euro is $1.05, and so it's still very economical to buy from Europe, and therefore I think there are going to be all these things that we talk about. We need to take in consideration when we talk about price.
Right. Well, and it sounds like, what you're saying is that cost is not necessarily going to be passed on to the consumer. Seems like the manufacturers and distributors are going to eat some of that because they need to get the customers.
Yeah, I think, there is going to be some product, maybe for food, where the raw material might be much higher. and
Right.
also the cost of freight is apply much much harder on the cost of the item itself. For equipment, as I said, I don't foresee huge increase coming from Europe, but it also depends, as I said, in many factors. Depending on the company, depending on the company cash flow, depending on the resource that they had, and also depending how they've been strategizing and planning, to get back to work, after being shut down for 60 days.
Well, is that something that you guys have done? I mean, I think everybody's got that plan for the reopen. But I mean, there's some people who haven't planned for what's going to happen next. I mean, did you guys have put something in play that, other manufacturers can learn from?
Well, I mean, I've been here since 1995. Our first business, after 4 years I was here in the United States, I started the first business with my brothers. So I have a lot of experience in being in the industry. We've been through 2-3 recession. I'm very proud that we never closed any business, and so we have learned a lot. We have a very thick skin today. We have a lot of experience, and we need to apply all the mistakes that we made in the past and make sure that we don't replicate them. We do have a contingency plan in place for Marra Forni. I was very conservative at the beginning of this crisis. If you remember, I was one of the first company pull out of the pizza expo. Right in March, and a lot of people were against my my decision. But I thought the well-being of my employee and my clients and also the industry itself was more important than the show. Everything is going to work out. We're going to have another show. I think we still have the Pizza and Pasta show planned for October.
Atlantic City, right?
But for as a company, you need to strategize. You need to plan. You got to elaborate, and then you have to execute. In these crises, you need to create a different module for your business. The game buster, the modest, and the conservative. And you got to look at them really, really well, taking consideration. Obviously, the major driving factor is revenue. Look at the revenue, and then look at the G&A expense, and then you start to look at the payroll, and you start to play with the numbers and see what what your company is gonna look like if you use different modules. And our projection for 2020, where we can forget what we projected. We need to reforecast our revenue, and we need to readjust our budget. We need to get rid of all the unnecessary service, and we need to control our cost of labors. Because if I was doing, hypothetically, if a restaurant was doing $1 million, and the cost of labor was 25%, and now is going to do $500,000 in revenue, you can expect the restaurateur to have the same labor force, because the cost of labor will then become 50% of your revenue, and you will not be able to survive if you do that.
Right. Well, and most of the people I'm talking with have these plans. They have 3 different projection models, and everybody's got to be able to pivot. I wanted to ask you just real quick. You were talking about at the very beginning about how many employees you had. I mean, did you guys apply for some PPP or SBA loans?
Yes.
Were you able to get it? First round or second round, or?
The first round, no. I think our bank was overwhelmed. We fit the perfect company to be eligible for this type of loan. We didn't make it with the first, but I just got a news this morning that we got approved, and we should get funding, coming through as early as tomorrow. So that's
what's the best tip you can give somebody trying to get that right now? Because I know some people they thought they missed the boat, now it's coming back around, and this ship has almost sailed. I mean, what was the hardest thing? What's the best tip you can give somebody to go get that loan and get that money right now? What did you have to do as a manufacturer?
So what we did is, you have to rely first at the bank, and you have to look at the bank, what kind of ability it has to produce, to process all these applications, and if they have the capacity to do it. So I will ask a lot of questions. I have asked so many questions to my bank, and I asked them, how many applications have you received? How many people are working on an application? And are you guys working 7 days a week? Are you working 5 days a week? If you're working 5 days a week, 10 hours a day. And I started to do the numbers in my head. And then I started to figure out whether there's going to be a chance for me to have to get the loan through the bank. And then I said, you know what, I'm not confident that they might come the second time. So I went to apply for PayPal. So PayPal was one of the companies that was approved by the government to help bank that they were flooded by so many applications.
That blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. Some of the U.S. Pizza Team guys got theirs through PayPal as well. And I mean, that's great. It's great. But I mean, it's one of those things you would never have thought PayPal would be funding a lot of small businesses or local businesses. PayPal is an arm, as a pillar, as a finance company. They do short finance for 6 months, a lot into the restaurant business. They were not doing any more loan. So they had a team, thinking out of the box, right? Reinvent yourself. This is a perfect example of a company that was probably doing no business for a while. And they say, I'm going to go and ask, try to get approved so I can do loan. Now, I understand that, their fee is about 3% for any bank. So if you're processing a loan of $1 million, you're making $30,000. It's an application. Yes, there is a process in place. There are costs. They were able to, put a website together pretty quickly, but they came through. And so when you were asking before, was I comfortable with my bank? I had my doubt. And I immediately had a plan B and C, and I went to apply to other banks and to other organizations. And whoever came first, and then we'll go back and tell the other bank, just take me out of the list because I already got awarded the loan. As a matter of fact, actually, SBA can actually flag it and say, if they see that you're already got approved and you did 2-3 application, SBA is going to send a notice to the other bank and say this person is not eligible anymore because you can only get one loan for the business. Well, that's actually, we talked with Mike Rasmussen, the CPA. He does a lot of writing for PMQ, but that's what I was saying is like, do you put you cast a wide net? Do you apply for numerous ones? Did you apply for numerous ones and you just, as soon as you got accepted with one, you canceled the others? Is that what you're saying?
It was I didn't cancel. Actually, I didn't. PayPal told me that I had someone working. My niece works there, and I asked her, and she said, "Well, automatically, you will be not approved for the loan because you already received the funds with another bank." Right.
Okay. So, I mean, they kind of did the work for you on that. But, I mean, all right, so this is great information that anybody needs who's trying to get these loans, especially even as a manufacturer or distributor. I wanted to kind of move on to what you're doing for, your customer base. And, again, this is different because you sell ovens to the operators who then sell pizzas to people. But, I mean, there's going to be a change. You're seeing kind of a change in how people are making pizzas and actually what you're selling. Tell me about that little bit of change there.
As people started to lose their job, they need to find a way to get back on their feet. And I've seen a huge demand from chefs that they were laid off and they're looking for alternative to make a living. And so we've been flooded with the request on mobile units. We make trailers here, mobile trailers. We anchor our ovens. The trailer can be either 2-axle or 1-axle. We also have some other mobile solutions. We do food trucks in collaboration with other partners, and we assist the client with putting the project together, but also helping choosing the right equipment. We have a package that we can offer to the client that includes the oven, the slicers, the mixer, the pizza prep, the tools, and we also do the venting. And so we basically cover, 60-70% of the equipment that can go inside the food truck. We also have an electric car that is green, it's street legal. It drives up to 25 miles. It's perfect for the city, for short distance. And it's a great tool also to promote your brand. And that's what people have to think. I think when you think of a mobile unit, a food truck, you can generate revenue, but you can also promote the brand, and you can do your own PR. And that's a huge cost. If you have a restaurant, you got to do marketing and PR. And then if you have a mobile unit now, not only you can do the PR and the marketing and get the brand awareness out there, but now you can also generate revenue. And I also think it's a great idea because the restaurant, we all know that the restaurant are not going to be the same for at least the next 12 months.
Right.
Until they found the vaccine. If a restaurant capacity was 200, I think, with the new guideline, you're probably going to have 75 people in a restaurant. Therefore, the other option is, my motto is, if you cannot come to me, I'll come to you. Why don't you deliver your experience, directly to your customer?
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that. It's like, do you see this as a bigger trend? I mean, just with the health scare and sanitization, people are trying to do mobile units easier.
Yeah, if I look at our social media inquiries through our platform, Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, we have seen a surge of inquiries for mobble solution. First, because the chef that was laid off and and is going to have a really hard time to find a job now. Now remember, we lost 30 million 30 million of employees in the last 45 days. We are almost up to 20% unemployment in a matter of 60 days. They're saying that probably in the next 3 months we're going to see about 15% of the restaurant closing down. Now remember, we have 700,000 restaurants in the United States and about 60,000 pizzeria. 15% of 760,000. It's in the range of 100 and 110,000. If my math is correct, it's catastrophic. To see our fellow friends, our pizza makers, our pizza operators, and restaurateurs to never come back, and they're gonna go through some pain for a long time. And Marra Forni wants to do their best. We want to support the industry. How do we support the industry? Is by finding solutions for our customer. We've been very vocal with these mobile units because we think is one alternative, but we also have other options. The other options could be, we also do electric ovens. So we have a ventless electric oven that you can plug and play in your system, in your restaurant. If you wanted to convert a small cafeteria into a pizzeria, you can buy our ventless electric oven that goes as high as 900 Fahrenheit. and the venting is rated at 650 Fahrenheit. And you have another option to use if you have maybe a cafeteria and you want to convert it into a pizzeria. We can also build on site if your restaurant is the facade is not removable or it's very costly to make any changes. We can send a team with our truck and we can have an oven built in a matter of 5 days at your facility.
Well, I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's the turnaround on that, matter of 5 days. That's great. I wanted to let everybody know who is watching. If you have any questions for Francesco, type them in the Facebook comments. We'll get them on screen. We'll let you know, or even just words of encouragement, because honestly, that's another thing is that I wanted to say, we were talking earlier, and there's something to be said for portraying confidence for the industry, and about whether or not employees are going to be motivated to come back. Now, I'm not sure if you had to lay any of your staff off, but I mean, are you worried about them returning after everything's done, or?
This is an important subject because one of the biggest mistakes that you can make is to start to avoid the issue or blame or complain. We are entrepreneurs, employees. We are all on the same boat today. We are in a disaster situation. I think we. As a human being, we need to contribute however we can. We need to step up. We need to be leaders. Leaders, bring the weathers. And we need to, I consider this as a battle. And we need to fight the battle together. United, we can overcome. But the entrepreneur, by himself is going to have a tough time if he doesn't have the support of his team. Now, we understand this is, transitional. These 45 days, when you have a lot, as an entrepreneur, or in this case, as the leader of this organization, as the president of this organization, not only I have a responsibility versus, my employee, but I also have a responsibility on the financial and the performance of our company. Therefore, I am required and obligated to make some tough decision. And employees, in our company or in any other company, they whether they agree or disagree, they need to be in alignment with with the leadership decision because they understand their business better. And therefore, you are not, nobody's in our shoes. They don't know what we have to go through. One employee might be just focused in one department, but as a CEO of the company, I have to take, I have to be responsible for every department. I got to be responsible for the marketing. I have to be responsible for the accounting, the human resource, the finance. The manufacturing, the engineer department, the tech support, and so I can look, at my company at 30,000 feet, and some of my employees are going to look at 10,000 feet, and therefore, whether they like it or not, I know, where we stand as a company. And I know, or at least I think I know what's the best for my company. But I think, with 20 years under my belt, managing business, some cases also restaurant, I think, I know exactly, what I am required to do.
Well, no, I mean, it's true of any business. You can't be a manager unless you've done all the jobs or know what all the jobs entail. Yeah. You can't tell somebody to do something if you have never done it yourself. So I do have a couple quick subjects we're going to go just touch on real quick if we can, and then I'll let you go. Thank you so much for your time today, Francesco. We do have another comment here. I appreciate everybody tuning in and all your comments. I hope you're seeing I've been putting them up, but let me see. Where's that? Michelino Tutino Fratello. That might be an inside thing between you guys. I'm not sure. Oh, no, not Michelle, Michele.
Brother. Ciao, brother. How are you?
Oh, that makes sense. All right. Oh, yeah. We got Antonio Fusco. He's chairman in too. So
he's just
it's all Italian.
he's just giving a compliment to say, Viva la pizza from Naples and a big hug.
Yeah. Stefano and Umberto, all you guys, thank you guys so much for chiming in. We appreciate you watching. If you guys have any questions here, ask them now so that we can get Francesco to actually answer them. But also you can, I think I have it here real quick, but it's anybody who wants to reach out to you and get some information, they can reach you at inquiries@marraforni.com. If anybody in the industry, as far as distributors, manufacturers, have questions about how Marra Forni is weathering the storm, Francesco's ready to answer them. So real quick, I want to talk about, I'm going to just put it out there so we don't forget, Ghost Kitchen and Pizza University. So Ghost Kitchens, we talked about that briefly just this morning. So what are you seeing on that? I mean, because I know we're saying a lot of the trends is, well, actually another question about the cleanliness and hygiene of like, is it more sanitary to do the actual mobile units? But I think that kind of ties in with Ghost Kitchens. What are you seeing on that?
Ghost Kitchen, they started to come around a couple of years ago. One of the first Ghost Kitchen is a United Kitchen out of California. I think it's, they're talking about being very creative. As one of the toughest challenges that restaurateurs have in their business is fighting these high cost of rent, right?
Right.
And we know that in the metrics, for a restaurant, you should pay no more than 10% of rent. So you can hopefully have a 3-4% net at the end of the year. The Ghost Kitchen is very interesting because some of these companies they're trying to find a location that low rent, maybe in the suburban, where you can put 15 to 20 concepts in one warehouse that is fully equipped with kitchen and all the need necessary to prepare food. And then they have, they have a takeout. Their business is mainly takeout and delivery. And so the cost of...
All right. I'm not sure if it's my internet or if it's Francesco's, but I might have lost him. Maybe not. Sometimes I haven't completely lost him.
Did you lose me?
There we are. We're back. Okay. So, but I like what you're saying. This is kind of an avenue for people to have kind of a lower rent kind of situation, still get their food out there. And I mean, you I don't want to say do you fund, but you provide a lot of these ghost kitchens with ovens and stuff like that.
We're starting to, we started to see some movements. We started to see some of our customers, getting interest into this project. It seems like it's going to be a new thing for a while. It's going to be very trendy. I know that United Kitchen is trying to open one here in DC, actually in the Pentagon, and so there's a waiting list.
Wow.
But they have planned to put hundreds of these kitchen in the United States. Perfect location, big metropolitan area, and trying to have a ghost brand. Some people don't even have a brick and mortar; they just have a ghost brand.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was hearing from one of the marketing guys I interviewed the other day. I can't remember who exactly it was, but they were talking about just having kind of their ghost kitchens. It's like you have one pizzeria, but then you make a different entity for your salads because some people just look up salads. They're all ordering from you, but you're kind of naming it differently. So this is actually just like you said, people don't have a brick and mortar. This is kind of an easy, cheaper way to get your food out there, get people fed, and a good source of revenue.
Also, some family brands that they were declining, and now they're kind of reinventing themselves. They have the space, but their brand is declining, and they're creating a new brand, and they're producing everything from their restaurant. So the pizza guy might also have a salad concept and also a burger, as long as you have the right setup in the kitchen, and you can buy online or through Uber Eats or all the DoorDash and all of them. So that's a good option. I think you're going to see a lot of them going out in the next couple of years.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a good option too, even if you're trying to transition your brand, like you were saying, slowly, but just get people trained on a new brand. Just for the average operator, if something that you're doing is not working, if you want to keep your concept going, just transition it to a new name. Do it slowly. You can do it through those ghost kitchens.
Exactly.
Right.
But one important thing that I want to say, we need to have the mindset of we need to be growth oriented. We have to have a mindset of a leader in this situation. We need to show tenacity. We need to show our resilience. We gotta we have to be persistent, and we really need to take this crisis as a big war that we must win. And the next 12 months, I think we're going to suffer a lot of pain, and we're going to start to see it more in the next months. How whether we're going to be able to sustain business or not. And for that, we need the support of the workforce. We need the support of our employees to overcome these crises together. Entrepreneurs cannot do it on their own.
No, absolutely. It's about us all coming together as a community, as an industry. And that's why I'm loving these interviews, because everybody's out there giving what they can. There's little self-serving here right now. It's basically people telling you what they've learned and what you can do to help yourself. I did, on a self-serving note, I did want to ask you about the Pizza University, just because you guys you graciously hosted us a U.S. Pizza Team competition there. I think it was last year. It was a great facility. Are people still signing up for those? Because I know a few other friends who are actually opening up pizza universities around the country. But I mean, not.
So this month has been transitional for us. We had to take a month to think and to strategize how we're going to come back with the Pizza University. We have some classes coming up, and we have some requests of consulting and also of training. But we were just waiting for our state to give us the guidelines so we can, even return with the Pizza University. The other thing that we really learned how to do in the last 30 days, a lot of web conference and a lot of web training. Now, granted, if we're talking about verbal training, theoretical training, I think that's achievable, through video conference. For practical, the teacher could probably do some training and simulate some of the training, on video conference.
Okay.
But what we're planning to do is have our own guideline for our kitchen. So if before we had 25 people attending to a class, we're probably going to reduce the attendance capacity to maybe 12.
Okay.
And that's the thing that we can start to do. Obviously, we're going to follow the CDC recommendation. We're going to increment the level of cleanliness, the sanitizing, the mask, the gloves. At the door, we're probably going to measure people temperature, and we're also going to ask them, whether they've been, in contact with someone with the COVID-19 in the last couple of weeks.
No, well, that's great. I mean, it's a good methodology to follow for anybody who's doing pizza schools. I mean, everybody's having to make that shift towards conferencing. And I do, again, apologize to anybody watching for my internet. I live in Batesville, Mississippi. The internet sucks.